The seed of justice, Akbar Birbal. A young gardener accidentally drops mud on the emperor's royal robe. The punishment? 6 months in prison. But then Birbal picks up a tiny seed from the ground, and what he does next changes everything. This isn't just about a seed, friends. This is about the difference between justice and revenge. Stay with me because by the end of the story, you will never look at the punishment the same way again. This is the story of Akbar, Birbal, and the wisdom of the seed. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome, welcome. Gather around because today I am taking you on a journey hundreds of years back in time to the golden courts of Emperor Akbar and to the brilliant mind of his wisest advisor, Birbal. If you are new to this channel, let me tell you something about Birbal. He wasn't just an advisor, he was a teacher who taught kings, a philosopher who used humor, and a man brave enough to challenge an emperor's anger with nothing but wisdom. And today's story, it's one of the most powerful lessons you will ever hear about justice, mercy, and the thin line between punishment and wisdom. So, settle in, open your heart, and let me take you back to a beautiful morning in the royal gardens of Agra. One fine morning in the royal gardens of dawn is just breaking. The dew still clings to the rose petals. The peacocks call their morning songs. The marble fountains sparkle in the early light. And walking through this paradise is Emperor Akbar himself, is wearing his finest silk robe, royal red with golden embroidery. His morning walk, his moment of peace before the demands of the empire begin. The sky is clear, the wind blows gently, everything is perfect. But as we all know, friends, perfection is fragile. It can shatter in an instant. Not far from where the emperor walks, a young gardener tends to the hedges. Let's call him Ramu. He is maybe 17, 18 years old. His hands are rough from work. His clothes are simple, and right now he is trembling. You see, it's not every day that the Emperor of Hindustan walks through your section of the garden. Can you imagine the most powerful man in the empire just a few feet away, and you're trying to trim edges with shaking hands? Ramu glances sideways at the emperor, trying not to stare, trying to focus on his task. The spade moves through the soil, cutting, digging, trimming, and then, in one careless moment, his spade slips. A clump of wet, dark soil flies through the air and lands directly on Akbar's pristine white silk robe. The garden falls silent. The birds stop singing. The fountain seemed to stop flowing. Even the wind held its breath. Akbar's face changes. The peace vanishes. His eyes flash with fury. His jaw clenches. When he speaks, his voice isn't just loud. It's thunder rolling across the mountains. How dare you soil the emperor's garments, gods! The gods come running, their armor clunking. Seize this gardener. He shall spend 6 months in the dungeon for this insolence. Friends, can you imagine? The poor gardener, this boy Ramu, falls to his knees. His face goes pale as milk. His entire body is shaking. 6 months in the dungeon for an accident, for a moment of clumsiness. Think about what's going through his mind right now. His mother, who is sick at home, depending on his wages. His younger sisters, who need him to bring food every evening. His old father, who can barely walk anymore. 6 months. That's not just punishment for him. That's a death sentence for his family. The guards step forward. Their hands reach for the boy's shoulders. And at that exact moment, a calm voice cuts through the tension like a knife through silk. Forgive me, Jahanpana. Everyone turns. It's Birbal. Now, friends, Birbal is no ordinary advisor. It doesn't rush in shouting. It doesn't panic. It doesn't try to physically stop the gods. He simply walks forward, calm, composed, respectful, bows deeply to the emperor and says, Jahanpana, may I ask you something before this sentence is carried out? Akbar is still fuming. You can see the anger in every line of his face. His jaw is clenched so tight that it must hurt. But he knows Birbal. He trusts Birbal. He gives a curt nod. Speak. And this, my friends, is where Birbal does what Birbal does best. He doesn't argue. He doesn't lecture. He doesn't say you're wrong, Your Majesty. No. He teaches without preaching. Watch this. Watch how your master works. Birbal kneeled down right there in the garden on the very soil that caused all this trouble and picks up something from the ground. Something tiny. Something so small you might not even notice it. He holds it up between his fingers where everyone can see. Your Majesty, he asked quietly, what do you see in my hand? The entire garden is watching now. The gods have passed. Even the gardener has stopped trembling for a moment, confused about what's happening. Akbar's eyes narrow. He is impatient, still angry. A seed, obviously. What of it? Just a small seed, Birbal agrees, turning it slowly in the morning light. Something so tiny you could lose it in your palm, smaller than your fingernail, lighter than a feather, insignificant, wouldn't you say? Everyone no, slightly. Yes, it's just a seed. What is the point? But then friends, Birbal does something beautiful. He presses the tiny seed gently, carefully into the soil at his feet, the same soil that caused this whole crisis. He looks up at the empress and says, Your Majesty, if I plant the seed today, if I give water, sunlight, and time, in a few years, do you know what will happen? He passes. Everyone leans in slightly. This tiny, insignificant seed will become a mighty banyan tree. Its branches will stretch wider than this entire garden, sheltering hundreds from the scorching summer sun. Its roots will go deep into the earth, preventing the soil from washing away in the monsoons, protecting the land. Bird will build their nest in its leaves, raising generation after generation. Travelers will rest in its shade, finding relief from their journeys. Children will play beneath its canopy, making memories that last a lifetime. Farmers will sit under it during the harvest time, sharing their meals and their stories. Old people will come here to spend their final years in peace. One small seed, countless blessings, hundreds of lifestyles, thousands of moments of joy, all from something you could barely see. The garden is still silent, but now it's different. People aren't frozen in fear anymore. They are listening, really listening. Their minds are opening. They are following where Birbal is leading. Birbal's voice drops lower, becomes more serious. But Jahampana, consider this. Everyone holds their breath. What if instead of planting the seed, I crushed it under my heel out of anger? He lifted his foot, hovering it over the tiny seed. What if I said, this seed annoyed me, so it must be destroyed? That single angry moment, 1 second of rage, would destroy not just this seed, but everything I just described. All the shade it would have given, gone. All the fruit it would have borne, gone. All the birds that would have nested there, never born. All the children who would have played there, no memories. All the travelers who would have rested here, no relief. All the life it would have touched, forever changed. All of it destroyed because I was angry at something small. You can see Akbar's anger beginning to waver now. It's in his eyes. The fury is still there, but something else is entering. Doubt, thought, contemplation. He looks at the trembling gardener, then back at the seed in the ground, then at Birbal. Birbal continues, his voice gentle, now filled with compassion. Jahampana, this young man made a careless mistake, just like the seed, small, fleeting, unintentional. A moment of nervousness, a slip of the hand, an accident. But if we can crush him with 6 months of imprisonment, if we let anger be our guide, we destroy not just him, but everything connected to him. His mother, who depends on his wages, will go hungry. How will she eat? How will she survive? His younger sisters, who need his protection in this world, will have no one who will keep them safe. His old father, who can barely walk, who needs someone to bring him water, to help him to the temple, to hold his hand, who will care for him in his final years. This isn't just one punishment for one person, Jahampana. This is one seed of anger that destroys an entire tree of lives. He looks directly at the emperor. There is no judgment in his eyes, just earnest truth. And what lesson do we teach the kingdom? That power means the absence of mercy, that a stain on cloth that can be washed, cloth that can be replaced, is worth more than a human life. The justice is merely anger wearing a crown. Is that the legacy we want to leave? The gardener remains silent. But now, friends, it is a completely different kind of silence. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of shock. This is the silence of contemplation, of minds opening, of hearts softening. Akbar looks down at his robe. The mud is already drying, already cracking, already becoming dust that could be brushed away. Insignificant. He looks at the young gardener, his whole future hanging by a thread, one decision away from destruction or redemption. And then, friends, watch this transformation. Something changes in the emperor's face. The anger melts away like ice under the sun. In its place, understanding, wisdom, and perhaps even shame. When he speaks, his voice is quite heavy with realization. You're right, Birbal. Just 3 words, but they carry the weight of the world. I was about to make a mountain out of a grain of sand. He turns to the gardener, and his voice becomes firm but kind. Stand up, young man. The boy raises on shaking legs. Tears are streaming down his face. Not tears of fear anymore, but tears of disbelief, of hope. You are pardoned, Akbar says firmly. Be more careful in the future. But know this, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone, even emperors. He glances at Birbal with a slight smile. What matters is not the mistake itself, but what we learn from it. Go now, return to your work, return to your family. tell your mother that the Emperor of Hindustan says she raised a son worth of forgiving. The gardener can barely speak through his tears. Thank you, Jahampana. I will never forget your mercy. Never. I will tell the story to my grandchildren. Go before I change my mind. But everyone knows he is joking now. The tension has completely dissolved as the gardener hurries away, probably still in shock, probably not believing this is real. Birbal sands and dust off his hands. He smiles that knowing smile of his and says, justice without wisdom, Jahampana, is merely revenge in disguise. True justice weighs the crime against the consequences. True justice remembers that we are all human, all fallible, all deserving of compassion, and true justice always leaves room for redemption. Akbar puts his hand on Birbal's shoulder. You have taught me something today, my friend. Something worth far more than this robe. From that day forward, so the story goes, Emperor Akbar changed. He was still a powerful ruler, still a mighty warrior, still a just king. But now, before pronouncing any punishment, whether for a criminal, a servant, or even an enemy, he would pause and take a breath and ask himself one simple question. Is this just speaking or this is my anger? That one question, friends, that single moment of reflection, it changed how he ruled. It changed how he lived. And the seed, the actual seed that Birbal planted that day, legend says it grew into a magnificent banyan tree. And for generations, people would sit under its shade and tell this story. The story of how a seed saved a life. The story of how wisdom defeated anger. They called it the tree of mercy. My dear friends, let me ask you something. How many times in our lives do we face this exact situation? Not with emperors and godness, maybe, but with the same choice. When someone out cuts us off in traffic and rage floods in our chest, do we lean on the horn, chase them down, let anger control us? When a colleague misses a deadline and our project suffers, do we yell, humiliate them, make an example of them? When our child breaks something valuable, maybe by accident, maybe through carelessness, do we explode, punish harshly, and make them fear us? When a friend betrays our trust in a small way, do we end their friendship, cut them off completely, seek revenge? Do we let rage be our judge? Or do we pause, breathe, and ask what I am really destroying here? Because here what the story teaches us, friends. Here the wisdom hidden in that tiny seed. First, every action has consequences that ripple far beyond what we can see. When we punish, we don't just affect one person, we affect everyone connected to them, their families, their futures, their potentials. Second, anger makes us blind. In that moment of fury, Akbar could only see his stained robe. He couldn't see the boy's family. He couldn't see the injustice. He couldn't see the bigger picture. Anger is like wearing blinders. It narrows our vision to only our pain, our offense, our ego. Third, true power isn't the ability to punish harshly. True power is the ability to show mercy wisely. Anyone can destroy. It takes no skill to crush someone beneath your authority, but to lift them up, to see their humanity even when they have wronged you. That takes real strength. Fourth, justice must always be proportionate. The punishment must fit the crime. A stain on cloth does not equal 6 months of someone's life. A moment of carelessness does not equal the destruction of a family. And here is the most important lesson. We all make mistakes. All of us. Every single person watching this video right now has done something careless, something thoughtless, something that hurt someone else. And in those moments, What did we want? Did we want crushing punishment? Or did we want understanding, compassion, a second chance? The mercy we wish to receive is the mercy we must be willing to give. So, here's my challenge to you, friends. The next time anger rises in your chest, and it will because you are human, remember the seed. Before you speak harsh words, remember the seed. Before you impose punishment, remember the seed. Before you let rage guide your hands, remember the seed. Ask yourself, am I planting something that will grow into blessing? Or am I crushing something that could have been beautiful? Ask yourself, is this justice or is this just my anger? That one question, friends, that one moment of fast, it can change everything. And that, my dear friend, is the story of Akbar, Birbal, and the seed of justice, a tale about the difference between punishment and wisdom, between anger and understanding. If this story touched your heart, is it made you think? If it reminded you of something important, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Let's spread this wisdom to more people. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone who is angry right now, someone who is about to make a decision they might regret, someone who needs to remember the power of mercy. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. Ancient wisdom for modern problems. Life lessons wrapped in beautiful narratives. And please comment below. Tell me, have you ever been in a situation where you choose mercy over anger? How did it turn out? Or have you experienced the opposite when someone showed you mercy and when you didn't deserve it? Share your story. Let's learn from each other. Let's build a garden of wisdom together. Before you crush the seed, imagine the tree. Before you punish in anger, breathe and ask, is this justice? Or is this just me? Until next time, dear friends, may your anger be slow to rise and quick to fade. May your justice be tempered with wisdom. And may you always remember the power of seed. This is your storyteller signing off. Think deeply, act wisely, choose mercy. See you in the next tale.